Hey Dom, this is Dave Desai. We need to talk about V's health and what has been going on with him. He recently allegedly suffered an electric shock and fans are a bit worried about his safety and health. We also have a bit of a lawsuit pending with Big Hit and BTS's name that appeared on it. So hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on, grab your dumplings, he's spilling mug merch, and let's get into it. Since the realization that BTS might not be around for a while to help the label maintain their success to that degree, the label has been trying really hard to diversify and use BTS's popularity to help push other business ventures. So BTS basically comes in and gives the project the initial push, and then the project can more easily and faster take off, as opposed to it starting from the ground up. HYBE wanted to create a new singing reality show called Island. This is a survival show and extremely well done in terms of budget and casting. The trainees are all very likable, and what emerged out of that show was the group in HYBE. By the way, the entire season of Island, we have reacted to that on Patreon, so if you want to go over there and join us, it's all there and it's all a good fun time. I will link that below. And we also react to HYBE music videos. But anywho, the end result of the show was good, but the show itself struggled. I can't find the exact sources, but many people were saying how the show ranked really low in terms of ratings and maybe isolated to just Korea that didn't really vibe with it. There's many reasons for this. It's just theorized that there was nothing distinguishable between this show and many other survival competition shows in Korea. Produce 101 is probably the most popular one, as it produced several really famous idols, and thus Korea doesn't feel like they need more. However, what I assumed was an attempt to increase the ratings was getting BTS on the show, and BTS actually guest starred on the last few episodes to give some advice to the trainees. Now that I've given some backstory on what Island is and what BTS's involvement is, I was very surprised to hear that since the show has ended over 2 years ago, there has been some drama since then. Allegedly, Big Hit and both BTS appeared in court documents and sued over copyright of this show. The show is obviously not anything completely original, as no singing competition show really is, but for it to have copyright issues, I was not sure. Felt like everything could be fair use. But someone apparently sued as they had a show called Island Hip Hopping, and they had written the outline, or what they call in the industry treatment, in 2013, and this treatment was officially registered with the Writers Guild then. And the person who filed to sue apparently spent all of 2013 to 2020 studying Asian culture, and thus a lot of that and the music was reflected in Island, and that was supposed to be on his show. I'm not entirely sure. The legal wording in the legal articles are too thick and it's hard to understand. But none of that makes too much sense to me. Of course, BTS and Big Hit won because there is literally no leg for the suer to even stand on. Their claims make no sense. What bothered me even more was the reaction upon these articles that are being written. One website, Music Business Worldwide, if you go into the comment section, you'll see statements like this story isn't real and thus news writers must be looking for clout. A lot of news sites reported on this, so a simple news search would show you that it is at least believed to be true. There's also court documents which are always public, so that's a stupid claim. And then others saying why BTS's name was being brought up by the article writer, and that's because BTS is in the court documents. So like it or not, they're involved. I don't understand how people literally do not read the article, or just like the moment they get triggered, they just stop reading and then leave a comment. Makes no sense. And is what's wrong with the world. Instead of being mad at the person who is making wild copyright claims against HYBE, these people are mad at the news article for reporting the news. Either way, I am glad this is settled, and it shows that what is right will usually come out on top. There's been a lot of shocking news that is quite apparent. Many people in the fandom don't want it to come to light, and a lot of them suppress stories for selfish reasons. They like to make their idols seem not human and make them seem supernatural, as this would make them untouchable. And they don't do this because they care about the idol. They do it because if they don't, they lose the fan wars with Blinks or whatever. There, I said it. I don't think the majority of these people who say these dumb things are coming from fans that actually care about BTS. A story that was kind of suppressed was a recent story that had happened to Taehyung during a show. Allegedly, he suffered a little bit of an accident, and it was definitely really hard to read as it looked quite painful. One of the last few appearances that BTS had done together was at the Fact Music Award, and this is an award show in Korea and are definitely one of the bigger ones. Nothing seemed wrong, and it seemed like a normal appearance day for Taehyung. He puts on his in-ears in-ears, which are so important for an artist. In case you didn't know, the in-ears are basically your ears when you're on stage. The speakers, if there's a live audience, completely face the audience, so the voice coming out of the microphone is being projected towards the audience, not you. And then you really can't hear yourself because there's so much cheering or whatever. We know how armies cheer, so the only way for singers to hear not only themselves but the beat would be through the in-ears. They also do a bit more than that. There's a voice that counts you in, so 3, 2, 1, first verse, etc. This is how singers don't miss their cue, especially songs that you will hear them sing first before the beat comes in. You might wonder how they know when to come in, and that is how. Another trick of the trade that they have for singers is that they'll sometimes have like a karaoke thing in the corner of the stage so they don't forget lyrics. But that's another thing. So Taehyung and BTS took the stage for the Fact Music Awards and they were supposed to accept an award. Everyone noticed that while they took the stage, Taehyung flinched really hard and covered his ears. Upon first looking, it may not have appeared like a big deal at all. Sometimes audio messes up and it will leave a beep sound. You know, like when you plug in an amp for an electric guitar, it's like eek. But we can literally see Taehyung pull out both of his in-ears and he starts rubbing one of his ears. And of course, if this was a simple audio beep thing, then it would not have hurt this much. We even saw him right on the stage still rubbing his ears while RM was trying to get his attention. Turns out it was reported that there was a bit of an electric shock that came from the in-ears and shocked Taehyung's ears. That sounds quite painful. I couldn't believe that happened because that is such a basic concern for anything that would be going in you. You would expect that it needs extra attention to make sure that it doesn't happen when designing it. Of course, things happen, whatever, but obviously be careful. V of course addressed it to say that he was shocked during the awards speech and he said that he will do his best to recover. This is no one's fault, as of course no one could have predicted this, and likely the engineers of the in-ears are not going to be on set, but it was reported that allegedly V could have lost his hearing. That would likely be a close end to his singing career, as you can't sing if you can't hear yourself. Turns out V ended up being entirely fine, but armies definitely wanted him to go to the hospital and be okay. And likely he had his HYBE medical team take a look and everything was fine. The issue that some armies have with this is that the in-ears or any performance issue seems to always occur with Taehyung. There was an incident a little while ago where Taehyung was on stage and I think the audio was pitched up too high, so he was trying to reach that pitch but couldn't and was straining, and you could tell he was signaling to the audio people to lower the pitch, which is not a huge deal, but armies were upset and blamed HYBE for making Taehyung look bad or sound not great on stage. So then people either attack HYBE and say that HYBE is neglectful, or they attack the network, and in this particular case I can see why someone would attack the network, but it's really not their fault either. But just because something bad happens doesn't mean that we need to blame someone. I hate this culture in which we live where people practice blaming people instead of just saying, okay, things happen. You can always find someone to blame, and that's not how we should be. Going back to the lawsuit incident, the guy suing was just angry that his show never got off the ground or would potentially not do well and wanted to blame Big Hit to say they stole my idea and that's why my show won't do well or hadn't done well. You see how living in a world where we just blame each other when no one is at fault? If you create a show that's not good, that's not your fault. You tried your best. Just try again. Don't blame someone else for that. I hate this mindset and there's no end to it. I'd love to say this is what we can do to fix it, but a lot of these things there's nothing we can do other than just talk about it, because this causes for a mass amount of people to be okay with acknowledging that they're wrong, even sometimes, and people have a huge problem with that. But what do you think about all this? Do you think V should have gone to the hospital and have gotten help after being electrically shocked by his in-ears? Do you think that he is the only one that ever receives these problems and it's unfair? And of course, what do you think about the lawsuit situation? And do you think the other person had a right to do the lawsuit with Big Hit and BTS? Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos, link down below. Thanks for this lovely comment right here. Love you, bye.